What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We finally got our first look at the hero balance changes coming to season 3.5, and I've been waiting to see what they're cooking up. The dev vision, the roadmap that we got yesterday gave us no hints, no spoilers at what we might see in terms of hero balance. And with the res comp finally being removed, what does that mean for Adam Warlock, Mantis, Luna Snow? Does she finally get changed? I'll give you a hint. That's a big fat no, guys. Come on, you new around here. Keep believing, guys. Just keep believing. One day. Maybe season 20. I don't know. But either way, I think the change is pretty good across the board, and this is going to be my first reaction and our first look at them. Let's jump in. All right, guys, we kick things off with the Vanguards, and overall, I like where a lot of them are at, but we've got to look at Doctor Strange, who I think is a damn good Vanguard still. I definitely love to play him. I would say he's probably one of my most played Vanguards, and he's in a strong spot. And he has seen a plethora of nerfs and buffs. They've made him more like a survival-based Vanguard. Then he was doing too much damage. They tamed that. They gave it back. Well, he's just getting buffs today, and it's going to be to a bit of everything. His ammo count is going to go up from 8 to 10 just to win. More damage, more pressure, and he has all those buffs from his survivability. But then they're going to reduce Cloak of Levitation, that cooldown, from 15 seconds down to 12, which... I gotta be honest, guys, like, you use that for a number of reasons to get out, to set up. I think that's just gonna be a nice, healthy change for a hero that's already good. Is he S tier? No, but he's creeping. He's getting good. I like what they've done here. Next up, guys, we're moving on to Groot, and it feels like we're not too far away from when he was the definite meta pick, and he's still a top-tier tank. You know, I would still say in the right hands, I think Groot is still one of the best Vanguards within the game, and the good news is he's getting nothing but buffs today, which I think combine that with Mantis and the new team up and just the different balance changes that are going to be happening in this patch. And the last one, man, I like where Groot's at. I got to be honest, because first of all, they're going to be increasing his Vine Strike, the range from 20 meters up to 22 meters, which, you know, some of these side-by-sides, when I do these balance patches, they don't feel extremely imperative to show the difference, but a lot of these today, I'm telling you, when you visually see the difference, it's going to make sense why these changes are nice. So a little bit more pressure with his primary and more reach, but in addition, and I think this one is definitely going to be felt, they're going to be increasing his Flora Colossus effect range radius. And if you're asking yourself, what the hell is that, man? That's why you watch these videos. What this is it's Groot and his proximity to his walls to awaken them, right? The meters for that. So his Thorn Lash walls are going to be doing damage. His Ironwood can heal. So there's different effects that they can do, and they're taking that range from 20 meters up to 24. So flat off the top, you're just going to extend that range way more, which means more damage if you know how to play more. This is going to effectively just make his wall placements and his playstyle like that much more important to nail down, and so the top end of Groot is going to continue to get better. Him as a hero, I still think he takes plenty of time to master, and that's going to stay the case, but as an already what I think top tier Vanguard at high level play, this is making him a very good. However, Magneto, on the other hand, you know, this guy has escaped a large number of buffs and nerfs. I think he's had some tiny adjustments like to his ultimate, but overall he's one of those heroes that are always in these balance patches that seem to be getting buffed, even though he is considered one of the best, or if the best Vanguard in the game, right? Emma and him very strong together and very strong independently. Well, Magneto's finally getting a nerf to his survivability. So his metal bulwark and his iron, the two bubbles that he can give or put on himself, the value of that is going to go from 300 down to 250. So he's losing 50 off the top. That's a good chunk of damage that, you know, overall protection that he can offer. And this is not a, this is going to be felt. You know, I don't think it's the end all be all Magneto nerf. And there are still about 100 reasons why you want to play Magneto, but this will at least trim down a little bit of, you know, his survivability that he can give and take. Now, overall, do I think this is just gonna ruin Magneto? No, it's not. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's still gonna be a very good hero in the game, and you know, but this should at least start the process of not making him just such an obvious pick if you're trying to Vanguard. All right, moving on, guys. We've got our last Vanguard, and it's gonna be Thor. And man, God, I'm pumped because, you know, we've seen them try to do some stuff with Thor. Now the guy's gotten a good amount of buffs, you know, consecutively. Some would look at some of the changes as nerfs, but listen to this. So, first of all, you'll be gaining a fixed 1 Thor force upon exiting the Awakened Ruined Awakened state. So essentially, when he is done throwing down the thunder and using his kind of bully mode, he's going to start with a Thor force right off the bat, which is just going to, I'm telling you, like, as they continue to add these changes, it's going to really amplify the way that you can min-max combo and play him as a tank, because he always feels like, why play him, especially in a lot of elos, and they're trying to fix that. So that is going to, like, if you're a Thor main and it comes down to the way that you use combos to go in and out of Thor force, which is already much easier now with the Thor, you know, the current one that we have. But now things like his dash, his throw, like, you're going to be able to do so much more of those, right? And that's just going to add to his bully presence. I love the change, man. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, and I'm not saying he's still going to be like the top intake of the game, but I like these changes. Lightning Realm has a new effect. So typically it can slow in an area, and it's how he gains some Thor force. Now, though, they're trying to do more kind of like the Thing, where, you know, the Thing was a much bigger boost to address some of the flyers with the tanks. Well, what they're going to do here is enemies that leave the boundary of this Lightning Realm, they're grounded for 2 seconds. So not only are they slowed now, they are going to have restrictions completely to aerial abilities. They can't fly, they can't escape. And so it's just capitalizing on Thor and his identity of being this bully. And this is definitely going to, you know, kind of fuel that fire a bit, dude. I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, some heroes, you can really tell by the notes how it's going to play out. This new Thor, mixed with the other changes, we're going to have to really see how it, you know, what happens. Because right now he's not in a good spot, and so he needs a lot. And sometimes it doesn't take a damage boosting or anything like that, but just small tweaks to make a hero feel really good. We've seen that in the past with someone like Iron Fist. We'll see if it happens with Thor. All right, moving on to the duelists. Hey, we've been waiting for this day. Black Panther has finally made the patch notes. But it's not a buff, it's a nerf. And obviously, we know Black Panther's in a great spot, but it's funny. For a long time, people buff, you know, Black Panther, buff T'Challa. You know, I was talking to the voice actor, and he doesn't play a lot. He's one of the few that doesn't play Rivals a ton. But he's like, if I picked it up, would he be an easy character to play? And it was like, you know, you could learn him fast, but everyone would hate you. But I digress, guys. They essentially have fixed his hit detection a ton, obviously, and that's what has kind of made a huge rise in the presence of him, and resetting that dash and doing the wombo combos that he could do, you know, the T'Challa special. Well, they're going to be adjusting his punishment, per se, if you miss the reset of cooldown from Vibranium. So the Sprint Rend cooldown is going to go from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. And, you know, that is a pretty big nerf overall, because if you miss that swipe back, like if you're just a great Black Panther player, this is going to affect you, but not like massively, because you still know how to, you know, really reset and get it done. But I would say, like, this addresses a good chunk of Black Panther players that aren't perfect, and if you miss now, you're going to be punished that much more, because you have no way to escape in a good amount of situations, you know, unless you plan it out right. I guess next up is Iron Fist, and I'm going to be honest, I can't stand when Iron Fist gets changed, and Mr. Fantastic, because there's so many numbers. Do I feel like doing math? I don't know. But what I will say is they're removing his team up anchor bonus, which is a 10% damage boost across his abilities. So we've seen this time and time again. They try to equal out a hero if they remove that in some way, shape, or form. And with Iron Fist, so first of all, they're going to be making the 5th strike damage of his main punches go from 50 to 55. So this one doesn't take a rocket science, if you will, but obviously his other punches, which I think do like 30 damage per hit, that's going to get nerfed per se, because you're losing the 10% extra damage. But then that 5th hit is a neutral change, because, you know, going up that 5. However, they're going to be increasing his kind of tank bursting ability, as we like to call it. This is like the fury of attacks that he does. So right now they do like 9 base damage. He's got that 10% damage boost, and then it does a percent of the max health. Well, they're going to boost that from 2.1% up to 2.7%. Now, yes, you're losing a little bit off that 10%, but overall, this is going to be I believe, if I'm mathing right, a slight boost to kind of squishy heroes and a decent boost for sure to vanguards. And so that ability is just going to get a net positive boost, in my opinion. Now, one that's not affected by damage boosting at all is going to be his kind of meditation that gives him health and bonus health. The decay start time of that is going to go from 1 second to 2 seconds. And so you're going to keep that health 1 full second longer, which is clearly going to be massive for the way that he works out. I think they're trying to get Iron Fist in a good spot. And I've said this time and time again that he's not an easy hero to figure out, in my opinion, because kind of like Blade, probably, if I'm being honest. He could be like way overpowered if overtuned, and then underwhelming if they mess with him too much. So I definitely like this kind of harmony change to work with the flow of his kit. And then lastly, guys, they're going to be increasing his kick damage from 30 to 35. And if you do the math, you know, obviously that's going to cover that 10%. So this is, I believe, a buff as well. So buffs overall, he does lose the team up there with Luna in that 10% flats, but his main kind of punches are going to go down a bit. And so we'll have to see how this guy feels. You know, I know when they did the kick cooldown, people didn't think it was enough, and then he ended up being meta, right? And then they had to scale him back. So we'll see how all of this works out. Moving on, guys, we go to Star-Lord and Peter Quill, and I always feel like this is such a strange hero to talk about because at the top end of play, he's one of the, you know, he's great, right, at times, but he can also feel pretty lackluster. And he has gone, I swear, if you look back, Star-Lord has gone through so many different small buffs and nerfs attached to it. And then, of course, he lost Guardian Revival with Adam Warlock, which is just a net big nerf. He does, you know, have the teleport now with the rocket team up, so you've got a bit more mobility. They're going to give him more survivability, too, as well. He's going to gain 25 bonus health when using his Stellar Shift. So whenever you do the right click and you kind of do the flips, he gets 2 of those, and I believe they're like 5-second charges. That's going to last for 3 seconds. Now that's going to start decaying. And so this is kind of like a quick burst of 25 health that you can get as you flip and dodge and give yourself more survivability. And I actually think this is combined with the teleporter, if you do have that team up, gonna really add to just like the flankness, like the, what's the word, like slipperiness of Star-Lord, if you will. He's not like my favorite duelist in the game right now. There are others that just do the job better, but you know, I think this could feel really solid. All right, we've got Wolverine. He obviously took that massive nerf whenever they clearly overtuned the Phoenix team up. Well, he's just getting more nerfs. You know, this is another hero they've tried to change a multitude of ways. I think I put him right there with the Iron Fist category, that he can become too strong too quickly, especially, I don't know, if you give him life steal and all that. So his ultimate is just getting hit across the board. First of all, his life steal ability that he did have when he was getting that heal, it was contributing to his ultimate buildup. So that's now gone. But in addition to that, 2,800 to 3,400 in energy increase to get his ultimate. Last Stand is one of the strongest ultimates, I think, within this game many times. Like, it can do so much and just get team wipes if needed. I mean, not the best, but it's definitely a strong ultimate. So that's a huge increase, and I think Wolf mains are going to feel it. And I already think he's like out of that SS tier after what they did with the bigger nerf. I feel like he's kind of he's still very good, but he's not like you know, a must select every single game. And then to wrap up the duelist, guys, we just have Spider-Man, and they kept it simple this time around. They're just making his ult, his spectacular spin, better. It did 150. They're going up to 170 per second, which is going to feel awesome. You now have an ult that is I think going to really ramp up in how deadly it is for, you know, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And, you know, his ults has always felt fine and good at times, but I think the 20 increase per second is going to feel quite nice. In addition to this, I'm going to throw it in here now. The Human Torch team up with him. We haven't seen a ton of Human Torch Spider-Man together, duelist action, but they're going to make it where his backflip doesn't go as far, so you can have cleaner combos as well. And so that was kind of a small change they did to help out Spider-Man in addition. So that's all the duelists. You know, nothing like earth-shattering, both nerf and buff-wise, whereas I think the Vanguards had better changes overall. Like, before we get the strategists, if you want to say who not avoided nerfs, but are still really good heroes that did not get nerfed, you know, that's going to be Hela, Jean Grey, you know, Psylocke. Those are all very strong duelists that didn't get anything that's really going to hinder them. Emma Frost escaped anything happening to her as one of the best Vanguards. So you have that, you know, Winter Soldier, Namor, all of them are staying consistent, Punisher. So, you know, you had a lot of heroes that maybe could have been looked at, not, which I think is, it will be cool. We'll see how this kind of all adds to the mix. All right, so that takes us to the strategist, and we have Adam Warlock. So after they have gutted what his main identity was in his triple res cup, how do they make this up? And I think this is going to be one of those interesting reworks, if you will, to playtest, because man, I think they're cooking. So one thing we've said over and over is it's felt like that his triple res passive has kind of kept a leash on him, and they can't do much more. And now that that's gone, they're going to experiment with what they can do. So first of all, Karmic Revival, his main ultimate, is going to go down a bit and become a bit easier to charge up. So you've got that. Fine. Awesome. But it's going to get a brand new effect. And what it's going to do is that when you get revived, currently you get like, what, 30% of your max health. And then you know, you hope to live and get healed. Well, now you're going to get that. But in addition, you're going to get 70% of your max health as bonus health. And then that's going to last for about 5 seconds, right? So that's going to give you a much better shot to actually live, and that's going to allow Adam to be a bit more risky when it comes to these revives. And overall, I think it's going to be fun. Faster charging revive, and then everyone that he brings back is going to live a bit longer. So we're going to have to see how this feels. Moving on, we somehow might have even a bigger change, potentially, and that's Cosmic Cluster. So his charge up with the orbs as he shoots them out is now going to have a new effect that each hit is going to reduce the avatar live stream charge time by 0.3 seconds. So this is so insane, man. Like, some Adam players just don't use this charge up enough, but now is insane. Like, if you hit a ton off of one Vanguard and you're just farming up one Vanguard to get your heal back, this is not going to be that hard to really significantly boost Adam and his healing. So definitely a step in the right direction to give him more of a, I don't want to say an identity, but you know what I mean. Like, it's going to make him feel different to play. Still very aim focused, but I like the changes. Now, Cloak and Dagger are arguably one of the best strategists in the game right now. You know, if you take out Magneto in a lot of instances, I think they are quite possibly, you know, the best. And that's also because they're right up there. Obviously, Luna Loki is cracked. But a lot of what makes them good, outside the Terror Cape and, you know, auto aim at low elo, high elo, the ult time is just, it's so fast charging. Well, they're going to be increasing that a bit. So they're making the ult a bit longer to charge up, and supports in general have seen this across the board. Cloak and Dagger going to go from 4,000 up to 4,300. But guys, I got to be honest. At this point in time, I would be less surprised to see a section here that says, you know, Luna Snow. We buff Luna by giving Luna another Luna that heals Luna, than them putting a nerf, because we once again have no Luna nerfs. Now, you can say the same about Loki, but they at least took him out of the they took him out of the Hela, you know, team up, and now he's with Mantis. It's just nuts, man. It's crazy. Those two are such strong foundations for strategists in this game, and they have been forever. And so they clearly are just trying to bring everyone else to that level, right? You know, Cloak and Dagger, they were flirting with that. And then now Adam Warlock, he got his buffs. Mantis, though. Let's talk about Mantis. Mantis got some very interesting changes. First of all, new team up with Groot and with Loki. And with that, as a new team up anchor, she's going to get 10% healing across the board added to her kit. So that's obviously massive. But again, I got to math a little bit here, and it's quick math, all right? Quick math. But now what they're doing with their heal, guys, is they're going to reduce the healing flowers healing over time effect from 12.5 per second to 10 per second, which it has a 55 direct healing per second, you know, as a burst heal. Well, that's going to go up to what, 60.5 with the 10% increase. So the way this works out is the longer someone's getting healed by this, it is a nerf of overall healing for one orb. But when you throw consecutive orbs, that burst healing and I think it's at 2 seconds, it starts to lose that gain. Again, the math is too much, but around 2 seconds, I think the healing is better, but then it gets worse as it moves on with the healing over time. But the burst damage is simply better, so you've got a buff there. They're going to be reducing her primary charges from 20 down to 15, so a bit of a nerf there just to like her ammo count. Sure. And then lastly, her ultimate. Soul Resurgence, the excess health to bonus health conversion rate is going to go from 0.7 to 1. So just a nice buff there, which is you know, that is getting better over time. And that's one of the things that sometimes kind of puts her out of the equation. I think she's an A tier, close to it, support and strategist for many reasons, but in like select team comps. So we're going to have to see now as a team up anchor with Groot, how strong does she make Groot? How strong does she make Loki? Can Loki and her be together? Does her healing work as a staple? I think it might work. And then, of course, guys, we have all the team-ups that have been added, removed, and we just talked about the change ones. If you guys haven't seen that, go see the roadmap video. I break down everything coming to 3.5, and that's going to be on there. And then the side-by-side. If you, again, I'll be showing a lot of this. I think I could do this from China. We'll see. Bear with me with tech issues. But we're going to have side-by-sides of all the changes. And so that's going to show a lot of these. I'll do the team-ups in there. And there you guys go. That's all the changes for Season 3.5. And within a month, we're going to go right into Season 4. So these changes happen pretty damn quickly. This is all going to come in around August 8th once again. And let me know down below, who did they miss? Who escaped getting a change? Obviously, we know a couple. And you know what else you can do quick is subscribe. It's going to help out a lot. It's going to get me back home from China. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But do it.